Aloha, astrology lovers. My name is Amanda Poole-Walsh. I am the CEO and co-founder of Astrology Hub, and today I am here with astrologer Donna Woodwell. Donna Woodwell is our contributing astrologer for the year of astrology, for the inner circle, formerly known as the year of astrology. And Donna is going to be guiding us throughout this entire lunar cycle, the Virgo lunar cycle. So on Wednesday, we will be having our new moon forecast and ceremony with her. A couple weeks after that, we will be having our full moon masterclass. In between, we will be having our soul work assignments, and we will also be exploring a book together that Donna is recommending. And so all of this based on the themes of this Virgo lunar cycle, which Donna is guiding us through. So for those of you who are not members of the Inner Circle yet, we have enrollment open for 2 more days, today and tomorrow. We're going to close enrollment down tomorrow night at midnight, and then it's going to be closed until the end of the year. So this is going to be your last time to join us this year. And I wanted to bring Donna on to give you a preview of what she's covering. And then also she is going to give us a preview into talisman making, which is going to be something that we'll be doing together in the Inner Circle. So Donna, welcome. It is so great to have you here.
Well, thank you for having me. I always love talking to you.
All right. We do have fun. We do. I told her before we came on, I said, okay, I need to get like centered and grounded because I was just on the playground with my kids. And she said, we're still on the playground. I said, you know what? You're right. You're right about that. All right. So Donna, tell us about the theme for your lunar cycle for the Virgo New Moon. Tell us what we're going to be kind of like the overarching theme that we'll be covering.
Well, I am very excited to be representing Virgo since I am one, and I promise I will make it fun. You know, sometimes I think Virgo gets a bad rap, that it's too critical and too focused on all the little details, but it's way bigger than that. It helps us align with the ideal vision. And when we can see that star that we need to move towards, we can, through continuous quality improvement without judgment, move in that direction. And that's Virgo's gift for all of us. So we're going to be working along those themes in this over the next month. The theme for the month that I've chosen is embodiment, because Virgo's in our sign, and it's all about bringing it down and making it real. And so we're going to be using a lot of techniques of magic, because magic is all about bringing it down and making it real. And I'm really looking forward to doing this with everyone who's going to be in the group.
Same here. Okay, so, and I have to say that Virgo is such a welcome energy right now after all the fire that we had all summer. It feels like just perfect. Okay, we've had all this craziness, really. I mean, there's been a lot going on, and now we get to actually ground the energy and start to move it forward, which feels really good. Okay, so tell us about the new moon forecast and ceremony that you're going to be leading us in.
Okay, so the forecast, there are some big things happening in the coming months. First of all, not only do we have a new moon, it's got 5 planets in Virgo, and that's a lot of planets in one place. I mean, that's even if you put in the outer planets, that's 5 out of 10. That's half of them. So there's a lot of emphasis on getting grounded. We also have some key things coming up. One of the big ones is that Jupiter is moving into the sign of Scorpio in just a few weeks, and that's a once-a-year activity that happens. Jupiter is all about aligning with our divine essence, and Scorpio is about going down into the depths and the soul, deep parts of ourselves that we have to feel our way through the dark to experience. So having these 2 planets together is a year that opens us up to being able to, yes, we don't get to go away completely from the shadow work, but we get to do it in a Jupiterian way, which is much more optimistic and feeling supported because we have our better angels going with us on the journey. And so, and in between there, we've got like some other big things because Jupiter and Uranus are having their last opposition for 12 years. That's a big moment of illumination. We've got Venus and Mars meeting in the sky at 18 degrees of Virgo. That's a very alchemical combination as well. So with all of these things that are going up, I want to give people to start out with some strength, because we all need that rejuvenation after what we've been through, because, you know, astrology never really stops. And so if you don't learn how to tap into that inner strength, it's hard to do what's next. So that's what we're going to be doing for the new moon.
Okay, great. And tell us a little bit about the full moon masterclass that you're going to be teaching.
Okay. So the full moon itself is actually, because we had 2 Leo new moons in a row.
Oh, wait,
Whenever
wait,
we,
wait, Donna.
Mhm.
Sorry. I realized we didn't talk about the ceremony. Tell us about the ceremony you're going to cover on the new moon forecast.
You mean I have to channel that in now? We can't do
Well,
that later.
just give us the broad what we're going to be doing in
We're
that.
going to be working on ways to develop your inner strength. So I'm going to introduce you to the deeper, more ideal parts of yourself that you keep locked inside of you in order to inspire you for what comes next. And, we all talk about our inner child as a source of strength, but we also have our higher self, our ideal vision of ourself, which is also a source of strength. And so as we get to know that part of us, we can use it to pull us forward wherever we're going. How's that? Is that good?
That's perfect. Thank you. Okay, sorry. Go back to the full moon masterclass.
Okay, so we had 2 Leo new moons in a row. And whenever we have 2 new moons in the same sign, what's happening is the order of the new and full moons is switching. So when people think about the polarity, they usually think like, okay, you're going to have a Virgo new moon and you're going to have the opposite sign in Pisces. And that's what we've been doing the whole year. So we've been doing like where we are and then the opposite polarity. But now we're switching so that the Pisces full moon already happened like a few weeks ago. That was the watery, nebulous, I don't know what's going on, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. Now we're going to go Virgo to the next sign, which would be Aries in this sequence. So we're not dealing with that same back and forth polarity. We're actually shifting a sign every time we go from new to full moon. So when you go from Virgo to Aries, it's much different than going from Virgo to Pisces. When you go from Virgo to Pisces, it's like, get all organized and where did I put my list? It's actually a complicated thing that makes you think about faith. But when it's what we're having this time, Virgo to Aries, it's like, get all organized, and then Aries, let's go. And so it's a very potent full moon that is square Pluto that is going to challenge us all to understand and embrace how we use power in our lives and how our choices determine what happens to us. And given that Jupiter is going into Scorpio and Scorpio's got an affinity for Pluto, this is a big month for making those decisions and embracing that power within ourselves. So with the ceremony for that, we are going to go and get you ready to go and embrace those deeper levels of power. Because in my full moon master classes, there are ceremonies because we're going to be doing shamanic astrology. And shamanic astrology is just a way to recognize that when you work in from a shamanic point of view, you realize that we don't do anything alone. We are always working as a team. And whether that's with the rocks and the trees and the air spirits and the fire spirits, if you're working in astrology, you have a team and they're called planets. And as you get to know each planet, they become part of a team that you move through with and help empower you as you walk through your days, because it's a great working partnership. They get to have a sense of some human experience through us, and we get to have a sense of a divine plan through them. And so shamanic astrology, what we're covering in our masterclass, is ways that you can tap into this immediate sense. So you don't actually need to have any charts in this class at all. There are none. And we will be talking about ways that you can have that direct and personal experience, which sometimes is not actually what the book says. It might be a little different, and that's okay. There's no right and wrong answer on this level because it's a lived experience.
I am so excited to share shamanic astrology with the inner circle. So can I tell a story? Okay, so Donna assigned me homework over the weekend, and she assigned me to watch her shamanic astrology course with my daughters. So I have 2 daughters, Madeline, who's 8, and Sophia, who's 6. And so we sat in bed on Saturday morning. It was so cozy and sweet. And I had my computer and we started to watch the shamanic astrology course. Now, of course, they wanted to go and meet their planetary BFFs. So part of the course, and Donna will talk to us, I'm sure, about this in the masterclass, I'm sure, but we each have a planetary BFF, or maybe several BFFs. And so for Madeline, her planetary BFF is Libra, and Sophia's is Jupiter, and mine is Saturn. So these are like the dominant planets in our chart. And so we watched the Libra, the Jupiter, and the Saturn modules. And in the modules, Donna brilliantly describes the characteristics of the planets, describes their favorite things, describes the type of people they like to be around, even the stones or the minerals that they prefer, the colors, etc. And so Libra, of course, Madeline was, it's Venus, so she's loving the beauty and the diamonds and the sensual pleasures of life, and Sophia was Jupiter, and so it's all about kind of like the benevolent king and the royalty and the grandness, and then I was Saturn. So Saturn, we watch it. So finally we watched mine last, and Saturn's like, favorite colors are like black and brown, and the character that you think of when you think of Saturn is like this old man, and Saturn likes to associate with like the black crow and like all these things. And so they were laughing so hard at Mommy's planet, because it was such a contrast to their planets. Then this is the best part. We have a dance party, and they demand that each of us dance in our character. And so Madeline is doing these beautiful poses like she's some sort of, Greek statue. And Sophia's like doing these big movements. And I, of course, have my cane, and I'm doing old man dances. And I'm not kidding. We had so much fun for literally, it was almost an hour of just like dancing in character as our planets. And what it made me realize is that bringing the planets to life in this way, there is no way these two girls will ever forget the qualities of those three planets. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about your shamanic astrology approach, is that we get to enter into a relationship with the planets that is far beyond, like you were just saying, what the textbooks are telling us. We get to actually have an experience of them. So it was really fun. I have to say thank you for assigning that to us.
You're welcome.
Yeah. All right. So tell us about the soul work. So one of the other things we like to do is make sure that people are embodying the energy of the lunar cycle. So again, it's about being able to walk with the energy, to experience it. So it's not just an astrologer saying, this is the energy of the lunar cycle, and we go, okay, that sounds cool, but I don't really know. I haven't experienced that. So the soul work really helps us ground the energy and work with it in a constructive way. So give us like a sneak peek into one of your soul work assignments.
Okay. Well, anytime you tell an astrologer 4, they're going to think 4 elements, because that's just what we do. And since there are 4 weeks in our lunar months, I said, okay, we're going to have one for every element. And with my magical background in training, that translates into a magical motto that some people might be familiar with. It's to know, to will, to dare, and to keep silent. And this is the things that you have to cover in order to make stuff manifest in your world. So I set up the soul work to make sure we cover each one of those. And so the first week we will be doing to know, which is to know thyself. And I have pulled an exercise in to know what you want. What is your ideal day? If you could have anything in a magic wand or a house elf to follow around after you, what would your day look like? Would you be leading like a team of 1,000 people, or would you be having lots of time to be in a beautiful studio and make art? And give everyone the license to play, and then record what you come up with, because we can't do magic for you if you don't know what you want. That's just, you get mushy mess at the end of the day. So we're starting out with that, and then we've got additional exercises in other weeks to bring in the planets in some really fun ways, and I'm really excited for it.
Fantastic. All right. So the other thing, and we're going to get to the talisman making really soon. Donna's actually going to give us a preview of how to make them. But before we do that, I just want to touch in on the book that you are assigning. So for those of you who don't know, the Inner Circle, we do actually also have a book club as a part of it. This is entirely optional, as all of the activities and exercises are all optional, but it's available to you if you want. And so Donna has chosen a book for us that, again, goes with the theme of the lunar cycle. Can you tell us what we'll be reading together?
Yes, the book is called The Reenchantment of Everyday Life by Thomas More. Now, Thomas More, you might be familiar with him because he wrote a very famous book called The Care of the Soul. And so his Reenchantment of Everyday Life is exactly that. It is about how you can find the magic in everything that you do, whether it's vacuuming the floors, washing the dishes, making love, packing lunches for the kids, all of it. It's all divine, because kind of the one of the things that has gotten us stuck in Western culture is that we believe for centuries we've been focusing on that God is out there somewhere far away, and we have to transcend our human experience to become more divine-like. And there is a second tradition that's always been in the West, but it's been in shadow, because it says that, no, where do you think this physical stuff came from? It's all divine. And so it is an equally valid path to embrace physicality and all of its pleasures and pains to bring you closer to your own divinity. The theologians have a fancy word for it called immanence, but really it's just recognizing that where we are is perfect. And Virgo likes to understand this, because its challenge is to understand that everything is perfect already, and you do not have to fix it to make it perfect, because it is.
I love that. I love that, Donna. Okay, great. So let's do a quick preview on talisman making. Can you tell us why we're doing this?
Okay, so in my research for things, I realized that we have a very limited window of opportunity here to make a talisman to help everybody who wants to get a little bit more discipline and focus in learning astrology. And hey, why not take this as a time of having, I mean, who doesn't want to learn more astrology, right? I mean, I love astrology, and people in the IC, we all love the stars. And a lot of times we say, oh, I wish I had more time for that, or I wish I would make more time for that, or oh, I'll get around to it eventually. So let's use the energy of what's happening right now to create a talisman. Now, a talisman is simply something that holds the celestial energies. You can think of it as, one author called it a sacred enclosure, which I think is a good way to, so you're making like a little home, so that when you pull down the celestial influences, they have a nice little nest to hang out with, so that you can have a more human, physicalized experience with them whenever you want to. So, you know, back when talismans became really popular several thousand years ago, they were already recognized. They lived in a world where, you know, not everything is perfect, and you can't always have the wedding at the absolute perfect point in time. And so you can make a talisman for the perfect point in time and take it with you to the wedding. So it's beaming out its perfect vibe, and sort of time shifting. And so that's why we make them. So how to do this is basically gather your ingredients up, because there's a long history of things that like different planets. Originally in astrology, now I know this will blow some people's minds, but for the first 1800 years of astrology, the planet of astrology is Mercury, because Mercury is the messenger of the gods, right? Because he takes the messages from Zeus and takes them anywhere he wants them to go. Well, what is astrology? It is heavenly writing. It is the language of the gods. And so, of course, Mercury would be the one in charge of astrology. Now, you also get a sign and a house associated with it. So the sign associated with astrology was, well, Mercury has two houses. He has a day side, which is Gemini, and a night side, which is Virgo. When do you see the stars? At night. And so Virgo became the house, the sign of astrology. So Mercury in Virgo, where it's both in rulership and exalted, is the signature for astrology. And then you put him in the ninth house, because the ninth house was known as the house of the sun god. It was the house of Apollo. And Apollo ran the Oracle of Delphi. Those were all his peeps, because Apollo had the big vision and could see clearly and could prophesy. So if you could put Mercury in Virgo in the ninth house, you can't get a better signature for astrology. And we can do that for this next week while Mercury is still in Virgo, by waiting until the afternoon when we have Capricorn rising. because if you're using whole sign, and for the first 1,000 years of astrology, we only used whole sign, really. It's a much more archetypal system, so you can do the math in your head. Makes it really, really simple. So wherever you are, somewhere between like 2:30 and 4:30 in the afternoon, making a talisman to ground your astrological practice is the perfect time. So I would go for like 3:30-ish, because that way you're in the middle and don't have to worry about the messy bits around the edges. Okay, so once you got that, you need to find something that reminds you of astrology. So you can pick something that's Mercury and Virgo-esque. I happen to pick something I already had. You know, you don't have to go get something super special. You don't have to buy anything. You just look around your house. I have a kind of choker that happens to be colors that are speckled enough they look like Mercury, and they have all these greens and browns in them for Virgo. But you could pick anything that works for you, something with stars on it, or like I have a Mayan calendar stone that would work. Anything that reminds you of Mercury. Hey, roller skates work for me. And so find something that you think would be emblematic of your studies of astrology. So once you've done that, this is what I do for my magic. I have a magic tray. It's just a big gold thing. It reminds me of the sun, but it allows me to make when I do magic, I can carry it around, and if I have to leave the house because the candles are burning down, I can put it on the stove, or I can put it someplace else. Plus, it's like a natural circle, and it's always good to make things in a circle. So I take my tray, and to do this, what we're going to do is gather up our materials. And so you're going to need something that forms a protective barrier. You're going to need some kind of candle. For this, I just, you know, different planets have different colors associated with them, but you're always safe with white. And because you can just take a knife or something and just mark the little planetary symbols on the side of the candle. So here I am carving Mercury in the side. I have this little stick so that it's now a Mercury candle, because it's got the symbols for Mercury on the side of it. And then you can prepare it a little further. If you do essential oils, find one that's related to Mercury. Mercury's things are the herbs associated with clear thinking. So it could be chamomile, it could be lavender, those would work. I happen to have clary sage because it smells more like dirt, and well, Virgo's an earth sign, so that works for me. Take your oil and put it on your candle so it's all ready to go, and just rub it in a little bit, because you don't need a lot, so that you're anointing your candle. And so there you have, this is the fuel for powering the making of the talisman, because every time you work with planetary energy, you're trying to exchange something. And rather than trying to use all your own energy, there's no reason that you can't use the offering of the fire. It's very, very simple. So I take that and you put it in the middle of my circular tray. Then I'm going to build a little barrier around it with circles. I happen to have a bag full of stones here. If you can see these, they're like little rounded crystals. And I just put them in, like, you know, when you're a little kid and you make little stone circles. I'm going to happen to make them out of these. You can hear it all banging on the tray. Good thing for you is I have the special camera in so that I can dump these out, and you can, isn't this fun? You guys having fun yet? I can pick up the camera and show it to you. See, now I've got a candle in the middle and a stone circle around it, okay? So you've seen places like this in, like, you know, I'm sure people have made these naturally out in the wilderness. There's a circle of stones sitting there, and you wonder why it's there. And, well, you know, could be something like this. So in addition to that circle of stones, I can also make it a little bit more protective by putting in, I am a big fan that the most magical place in the grocery store is the aisle with all the spices on it. Because I know, for the kind of work that I do, that every single one of them is related to a planet. And since I know what they are in my head, it means I've got, like, I don't have to go to a magic store. I can just go to the grocery store down the street. So bay is really protective. And so I can stick a few bay leaves around this little circle that I have made. So you're going to get something really pretty at the end of the day, too. I'm always big in the pretty, because if I'm happy with the result, then, you know, a planet's going to be happy with the result, too, right? I also picked up some star anise because it has star in it. This is for Jupiter, and Jupiter is on the midheaven. If you pick a time at 3:30, and so I always like having Jupiter around in my talisman make is because it's Jupiter, and clearly I have Sagittarius, a lot of it in my chart. So I put these around, and I've built a little circle for myself. All right, see, isn't this much like a cooking show? Isn't that pretty?
Beautiful.
It doesn't have to be hard. Kids can do this. Get to activities for children. So once I have it set up like this, and generally speaking, you would just do all this at the moment, gather all your materials ahead of time, and then do all this at the moment when you're going to start the talisman making ritual. Finally, take whatever talisman you're going to use and put it in the circle. This is really easy because it's just about the right size. So I can wrap this around. Again, you can take pictures of this and like make art out of it. So once you have all of the ingredients lined up, I've already done the hard work for you of knowing the right time. And so once I did this chart, I know with Capricorn rising, it's got a lot of Saturn in it for the self-discipline, a lot of Mars in it for the energy to like do your work, in addition to the astrological significance.
So wait, Donna, what day are we doing this?
Well, you can do it at 3:30 any day this week until Mercury leaves Virgo.
Okay.
But I'm doing it tomorrow because tomorrow has the new moon. The moon is also in Virgo, and I want that kind of energy. So last thing I do to make it really clear what my intentions are, well, make sure I understand my intentions. And I have to go through several iterations. This is a piece of paper where I've worked out what I want it to say. But clarifying your thought process before you go and do magic is an essential part of the process. And so this one, because I wanted to make sure I was increasing my self-discipline and focus because Saturn's in the mix, and in order to pursue my astrological studies, I just wrote a little Post-it note that says, I dedicate this talisman to increasing my focus and self-discipline in pursuit of my astrological studies. It's really straightforward. I personally do them on Post-it notes because I keep a magical journal. It's kind of like a lab manual where I can put in what I did and when I did it and then make space for the results that happen later. And if I put them on Post-it notes, then when I put them in my book, I can have them like in the book and they don't get lost. And I'm a Virgo, hear me roar. This is the way we do it.
It's so great. Wow.
So, okay, are you having fun? I hope the audience is having fun. I can't hear what they're saying, so. Okay. And then you can take your little message and you can stick it like in underneath the candle is just fine. Usually the best place for it. Okay, so once we're all set, we've got all of our ingredients, then you have to actually start the ritual to, I brought everything here except for a lighter. You know what? I think there's one over there.
Okay.
I found this, my lighter.
All right,
again.
so we have a couple days to be gathering our materials.
Yes.
Donna's going to do this tomorrow, but then we can be doing this anytime throughout the week at 3:30. It doesn't matter what time zone you're in. It's 3:30 for anyone.
I checked, and it's 3:30 for the time zones in the United States, and therefore I'm assuming it would be around 3:30-ish. It depends if you're north or south of the equator a little bit, but I put it right in the middle, so it's close enough.
Okay. Layla says, please give us a list of the herbs and planets. Is that going to be part of your inner circle offering to us?
Well, it's in my shamanic class.
Okay.
We'll talk about that.
Okay. Awesome.
Okay, so once you do all of this, then you start the ritual part. And all of this is actually in shamanic level 2 as well. So there's lots of opportunities to keep learning. You start the ritual. I use a bell because it's a great kind of like supper time. Everybody's coming together, and it's part of starting and ending the rituals for me. And I love this bell because it's one of those Tibetan, makes that
beautiful.
Great noise.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I open the space and find and do any grounding rituals that you're used to doing, and you're gathering the spirits. And then basically you're just welcoming the friends, your planetary friends who are going to help you with this. In the case of this talisman, we want obviously Mercury because, astrology. We might want to also consider Saturn because Saturn is what's rising, and that's who we're asking for the self-discipline. We might want to consider Jupiter because he's on the midheaven and there's Jupiter herbs in here too. We want to think, we want to say, please come and help me, just like you would with a friend. Please come and help me with my ritual. Here's what I would like to accomplish. And I'm lighting this candle. Would you please charge this talisman? And then once you're done that, you basically say, thank you for all the pieces that were involved. Thank you to the spirit of the bay leaves. And thank you to the protective spirits of the stones that are containing the energy for me. And thank you to the star anise and everything else you've got involved, because we work in an animistic way that everything is alive and therefore deserves our respect. And I guarantee you, you start thinking about life this way, your life gets a lot happier really fast.
Mm.
So once we do that, we light the candle, just click, light, and you're going to need to allow the candle to burn down to the end. So I would suggest for things like these little talismans, find a smaller candle unless you want to let it burn for a really, really long time, because obviously these things are going to be up to you. And when you're done, then thank you all for coming, ring your bell, and send everyone on their merry way. And then you have a talisman consecrated to this particular activity. And so every time you pick it up, you have the programmed understanding, the ritual understanding that this is something that is helping you with your studies. And you can't pick it up anymore without remembering that you have dedicated yourself and these spirits are here to help you. And so this isn't the kind of thing you can now just throw in a drawer and say, oh yeah, it's just wherever. It's like your friends are living there. You wouldn't throw them in a drawer. So if you do this, you got a couple-day window. I don't remember the exact day that Mercury switches into Libra, but you've got at least a few days left because it's like at 12 degrees, I think now.
Okay, and so Donna, would you recommend that the intention that we put into this talisman is around our astrological studies, or can we put any intention that we want in there?
Well, no, this one is, the thing with astrology charts is every chart is designed for a different thing. So this is a chart that emphasizes Mercury in Virgo in the 9th house. So if it's something that emphasizes Mercury in Virgo in the 9th house, that would be fine. So that could be, someone who wanted to be a travel writer because it's Mercury in Virgo in the 12th house, 9th house. It could be wanting to increase your magical studies, that would work. It could be wanting to write a book, that would work. But I wouldn't go so far as to say, like, I want a career as a firefighter, because we picked the wrong planets for that. So you have a range, because there's always a range of expressions in astrology. But this one is specifically designed for, working astrologically. But there's always a chart for something. So if there's something else you want to make in your life, we just find you a different chart and different ingredients. But the process is the same.
I love it for the new Inner Circle members because, a lot of them are jumping in with us now. So this can help them to really solidify that intention to learn and grow in their astrological studies. And then even existing members who want to renew that intention to.
And it's really, really cool. I knew when we were filming this that this is one of the windows. So like we were talking about making this talisman when Capricorn is rising. So where I am in Austin, all the planets are already in the right place.
Nice.
So I thought that was
fantastic. Okay, so is there anything else you want to add about your Inner Circle lunar cycle starting in a few days?
Other than it's going to be epic and fun, and you will never think about astrology the same way again?
This is true. This is true. Even just my little experience over the weekend with my daughters, it was really impactful, and it brought it to life in a whole new way. So Donna, really looking forward to your lunar cycle. Again, we are on in 2 days at 4 Pacific for Donna's new moon forecast and ceremony. If you are not yet a part of our Inner Circle, you do have a couple more days to join us. We'll be closing down registration tomorrow night at midnight. So if you would like to join us, please do so now. It is the Inner Circle. Donna is going to be our lunar cycle guide this lunar cycle. Then we go go to David Cochran, and then Gemini Brett, and Natasha Alter, and Orderly, and then we're going to be announcing our 2018 astrologers here very soon. So looking forward to seeing you all on the inside. And again, Donna, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we'll see you soon.